Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live 2022. Happy New Year. It's another year of us here on Take the Black, talking about all things dragon, space, laser, sci-fi, fantasy, books, TV, movies, and bringing you all the hot goss you want, may need to know, or your life be not as filling. I am Dan Selcke, editor of winterscoming.net, and I am here with
Corey Smith.
Corey Smith, a erstwhile Winter's Coming editor and Wheel of Time fan, a writer, Wheel of Time fan, and all around super gentleman. And Corey, thanks for being on the first show of the year.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for showing up. Hey Christian, hey Nicole, hey Stephanie, hey Julie. Happy New Year, everybody. Yeah, it's New Year, 2022. Man, so much things are gonna happen here. You have a good New Year, Corey? Anything of note happen?
Yeah, I'm 5 days in and I already forgot it's a new year, right? It just feels like back to the grind. But no, we had a good, nice, quiet New Year's. Fireworks weren't too bad for the kids and the pets, so we're happy.
Very nice. I had a good one too. I had a really enjoyable New Year. That was pretty fun. And I think 2022 will be a big year for everyone in the comments, me, you, and Wick in general. And it might be a decent sized year for the Wheel of Time, this Amazon fantasy program that wrapped up its first season late last year. And if there's any TV show on right now that kind of has a chance of stirring up a sort of fantasy fueled interest in that Game of Thrones kind of, I think it's this one. And we didn't get a chance to really talk about the finale because we had a week off on this show to celebrate the holidays we hold so dear. And so I wanted to have you on first thing to just kind of look back at the Wheel of Time and some other stuff I can talk about as well. And to just basically kind of evaluate, do we think it worked, what didn't, and go for some of the discourse, where it needs to go. Because some of the discourse, I'm not sure if you know this, has been quite spicy.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, Wheel of Time's a 15-book series that has been, it was, initially written by Robert Jordan, who sadly passed away, and then was finished by Brandon Sanderson. So the books have been around for a long time. It's a completed series. They have a very passionate fan base. This is not a series that's incomplete or is still in the process. I mean, everybody knows where it goes and ultimately what's going to happen, et cetera. So, I mean, the fact that spicy discourse isn't surprising to me at all, because again, it's got a huge built-in fan base. It's a long-running series. It took forever to write, obviously, 15 books. Even if you're writing one book a year, that's 15 years, but it took much longer than that. So,
over 20.
I mean, the discourse, I think, I've seen a lot. I think a lot of it just boils down to changes from the books.
It does. I mean, okay, so I moderate the comments on Winter is Coming. Right. And Corey, I have seen
a thankless job if there ever was one.
I mean, I like it. It's fun to see what people are saying, and just it's fun to see how intense they can get. When people feel intense, right, they let you know it. And I've seen some intense talk about this show in particular. But first, let me just ask you, what did you think of the Wheel of Time finale, the big finish of season 1?
I thought it was pretty good. Obviously, like we talked about, there were some changes to the books. But overall, I thought it was a very solid finale. It looked incredible. There's a big rousing battle at the end, lots of special effects. I mean, obviously the story and things like that are kind of move forward quite a bit. And then they set things up for season 2, which is already filming or getting close to filming.
I think they have some things done already.
They have some. I hear that they've done casting, and I think they're deep into pre-production. I don't know if they've actually started filming, but they're getting pretty close. So, but yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it had some surprises for book readers, for book fans, and I think it kind of drew the season to a close and kind of solved some of the mysteries that it had been laying down throughout season 1. So I didn't have any complaints about it. I thought it was a very good episode.
I enjoyed watching it. It had kind of the big rising action of Random Moraine go to the Eye of the World,
Right.
and they take on a mysterious figure who might be the Dark, or might be another dude. They keep it ambiguous, which, to be fair, the books do. The books are full of ambiguity. Like, the books don't like telling you exactly what's going on,
Right.
which I will choose to think is a choice. Um, and then meanwhile, back at Faldar, that's the one. The rest of the gang kind of facing a giant Trolloc army. Big special effects battle. I did like it. I liked sort of the intimacy paired with the big bombacity of the battle. Okay, but, and I'm just going to react to commenters here. A lot of people seem to have really not enjoyed this, at least going on what WiC comments are. And that, to be fair, that's where I'm looking. I'm not really looking. That's what I'm exposed to. I'm not looking to like elsewhere. I'm not sure how Twitter feels about it, how the Reddit feels about it. But on WiC, people seem to sort of loathe it. I heard, and it's interesting just kind of what points they coalesce around, you know, like what gets accepted as like, this is what's wrong with it.
Right.
First of all, people complain about the special effects a lot, which did surprise me because I thought they looked pretty good. Like the Trolloc army, and sort of when the 5 women from Faldara linked up and burned themselves out and summoned lightning down from the ground to kill them. Like I thought it looked pretty evocative. What'd you think of like the visuals?
Yeah, and I mean, that does seem like a really random thing to nitpick because, or to criticize. I don't know if it's a nitpick because obviously special effects are a very big part of the show. Especially when I'm not a fan of making the comparisons between Wheel of Time and Game of Thrones. But remember, Game of Thrones, they knocked Tyrion out before the season's major battle, and then it just happened off screen. So it's kind of surprising to me that people would kind of be upset with the special effects because they could have gone a different route with it. That a lot of shows. I remember the Marvel shows where the superpowers were basically they could jump really high and they could break locks. Like there weren't any actual superpowers
like Daredevil and stuff.
Yeah, like there weren't actually any special effects in those shows half the time. So that's really odd to me that people would be complaining about the special effects because I thought they looked fine. I mean, it's magic. I mean, what's it supposed to? I don't understand what it's supposed to look like.
I often think that whenever I see people complain about special effects, particularly, I mean, they can look bad. Special effects, they can. Like when you see it, you know it.
Yeah.
This didn't really strike me as that.
No.
And it is true that just a few years ago it would have been a very different kind of ball game.
Yeah.
So that one is kind of hard. That one's hard to argue with because like they look bad. Like no, they didn't. Like because I can't like talk about like what the computer graphic things were going into it, so I can't really argue at that point. Okay, another big point Volker bringing. By the way, some good comments here. I agree with Nicole and Julie. By the way, good but not great. I agree with that. It does kind of hit me in that fantasy sweet spot that I like. I'll keep watching it because I just like this kind of thing, and it's pretty good. And Julie, do we love as much as Game of Thrones? No, not yet anyway, which I agree with. I am going to keep watching it though. Okay, I have to bring this up because a lot of the comments on WiC are variations on like the show is too woke, which it's very hard to take somebody seriously after they invoke that because it always seems like code to me for too many people of color in the roles, or the other one is they're really angry that the women of the cast kind of did more than the men, which in the end of the book, and honestly, I don't even remember this happening because the book was kind of very loosely written in a very lovely way. Apparently Rand like becomes possessed of a power and zaps the army away. I don't even recall that happening, which I'm not sure what that says about me. And I guess they were really annoyed that the Rand had his confrontation at the Eye, and then Lady whatever her face is and the rest of them kind of zapped the Trollocs. Right. And I guess I can get behind, like, there was a complaint that like Egwene shouldn't have been able to revive Nynaeve that easily, which like sure, but also it's magic, and I don't know, I just kind of go with it when it's like magic involved. And Corey, I want to impress upon you how angry some of these comments are. And I know I'm letting it get to me. I know I shouldn't, but I am, and it's what's happening. So I don't know. It's I feel like if you complain about something being woke, it just makes it hard for me to really engage with you in a serious way.
I mean, I definitely I agree. I mean, this goes. You start talking about like they want to recast James Bond as a black woman, and it's like how many incredibly handsome white men do we need to see in that role before we've seen all they can do with it?
Seen all of them, all
yeah,
billion
like
of
I mean,
them.
how many more times? Yeah, like why don't we try something different so maybe we can enjoy it in a different way, right? I mean, in the books, the characters are, they're mainly white. At least the main characters. As the series goes on, they jump all over the continent and meet people of all kinds of races and color and creed and all that stuff. So, I mean, I guess that's an issue you would have with the series overall with its casting. As for the finale, Rand is the one that sort of like subconsciously channels and annihilates the Trolloc army. When he has the big climax, his power kind of reaches out, and quite honestly, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in the books because he's not there. He's not there at that point in time. He's much farther away, and so I don't know. So having, those cast members, the female cast members do it, I mean, it made sense. They were the ones that were there. And I mean, if you're worried about female characters doing more than the men in this series, you should probably turn it off right now, because if they fall anywhere close to the source material, the women are incredibly central to the story and do just as much, if not more, than the men. So if you've already got that issue, that's not going to get any better for you, right? It's just going to be worse.
The complaints seem like they're coming from a weird place.
Yeah.
And I'm not engaging, but I mean, I've read them all because I moderate them, so I can't not think about them.
Right.
But yeah, and by the way, Julie talked about Min looking a little older than she pictured from the books. Yeah, I guess. It's chaos.
Men did. Because they do describe men as, and when we're talking women and men, but now we're talking about the character Min, Min, who is the sort of fortune teller seer that they meet in the bar in Faldara.
I like how they their powers though. I just like sees them and kind of like
and she is a little bit
flashes.
older than she maybe seems in the book. She seems more like the same age as Rand and Egwene and everybody else from Emmonsfield. Right. So, I mean, I guess that might be, I don't know, but I don't know that would be something that really bothers me too much, that she's a little older. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if I have a complaint, and I can have some complaints, sure.
Sure.
I mean, it does seem like an earnest, decent show. I mean, I'm not crazy about them taking away Moiraine's powers at the end. It seems like a bit of a, we need to fill some time. And I know that she's not really in the future books.
Yeah, she's not really a part of the second book. She's not really in the second book. A little bit in the third, which I understand they're adapting kind of the second and the third book in this next season.
Totally.
So, I mean, I know Rafe Judkins, who's the showrunner, he understands that criticism on its head, that it looks like you're just kind of doing it to do it. But in a way, they had to do something to keep her sort of involved in the plot overall, because she does basically step out for book 2, and she does the Gandalf running off to Gondor to sit in the library thing. Right. And just kind of gather knowledge in book 2. So she really doesn't do much. I think she's only in 2 or 3 chapters. So I guess I can understand that to a certain extent, that they're trying to keep her involved in the series, because obviously if someone is as talented as Rosamund Pike, that you're going to do whatever you can to keep her, front and center. So I can understand that, I think.
I do understand it. Rosamund Pike has been, to me, the best part of the series is Rosamund Pike. The counter to that is that Like, yeah, I understand that after Rosamund Pike is kind of your main character, and I think that they've done a great job with her this season. But, you know, her going away for a season wouldn't be a problem if you didn't front her so hard in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have to make that call.
Sure.
I really enjoyed her this season quite a bit. But, you know, there could have been and I'm not saying this is a good or bad decision. Like, they could have just done a little more traditional thing and not kind of made her the main character, and it wouldn't have been an issue that she goes away for a bit.
Yeah, but then I mean, excuse me. I do wonder though, just with from her standpoint, I mean, she could be doing any kind of project. So it's kind of a, necessary evil or price to play the game, whatever you want to call it. And that you can't have most actresses of her caliber aren't going to be sidelined. Okay, I'll play third fiddle and show up for 4 episodes each season or something like that. Most of them aren't going to take that kind of project, no matter how much they might love the source material. So
Game of Thrones really lucked out, didn't it? That it had a giant star just died, and never had to come back at the end of the first season.
Yeah, and I'm right. And so I mean, that's the thing is like it wasn't like they front loaded her and she's just going to be in season 1 like Sean Bean or any of these characters that kind of die off in the first season of a show just to get it started. I mean, she's around in the books, for a very, very, very long time. So it's, she does take the occasional book off, to do things off page. But again, I think that's the main reason there. They were kind of boxed in. They have to have her as involved as possible or she won't be involved at all.
I mean, you could have cast an unknown, but yeah, I agree. There are ways around it, but
sure.
And again, I'm glad the choice they make because I like her a lot. I think that's my favorite thing about it. I kind of agree with Nicole that I wish we could have gotten to know each character a little more intimately and explain things more. I agree. I felt like I had trouble getting to know the characters who weren't Moiraine until the last couple of episodes. I thought they kind of started to get me later on, like Nynaeve and Egwene and Perrin's kind of quiet, but even him and Rand, like Rand especially, kind of started to blossom pretty late on.
Yeah, I think that was an intentional choice because they decided early on to kind of conceal the fact that he was the Dragon Reborn, which I liked. Right. I think from a storytelling perspective makes sense because as a book reader, I think you realize it within the first 2 chapters. I mean, you realize it almost instantly that he's the Dragon Reborn, right?
A lot of overcorrected, because Rand was kind of, it felt like he was the one they focused on the least.
Right. Yeah. And I think that was I do think they maybe neglected him too much in order to have him kind of sit in the background until they pushed him forward. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I do wonder it's interesting because like the entire sequence with the White Tower and with the warder Steppen, his Aes Sedai, none of that occurs in the first book. That was something that they kind of grafted into this first season. And don't get me wrong, I thought it was fantastic. And that whole sequence was good. I just wonder at what they had to cut instead of having that as far as like character development, like what you're talking about with some of the other characters. The Emmons Field 5, Rand, Egwene, and Nynaeve, Matt, and Perrin, that I feel like that might have cut into their growth from the season. So it was kind of a weird, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the performances. Peter Franzen, who was on Vikings, he did the Steppen role. Mm-hmm. He was fantastic in that. But I do wonder, if it costs some more character development for some of the other characters.
I can see that. Yeah, it's been an interesting process. I thought they did a good job overall. I thought that scene where Lan was pounding his chest at the funeral was positively reminded me of the films of Douglas Sirk, 1950s melodrama director Douglas Sirk. And that's my high my reference for the day.
Yeah, no, it was the scenes were great. The whole thing was great. I enjoyed watching it. Don't get me, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I loved it. And that scene, what you're talking about, was great. And Daniel Henney was great in that scene. So was Zoe Robbins, who plays Nynaeve.
Right. Oh yeah, she was good throughout.
They were all great scenes. I just wonder, it kind of felt like almost like a sidetrack there for a couple episodes where, some of the characters took a step back. So I don't know, but I enjoyed the season overall. I think, book readers, especially real-time book readers, sometimes it feels like, I don't want to say naive, because that, I think that feels a little too harsh, but I just wonder, book readers, they feel like maybe they're going to get a page by page, translation, but it's an adaptation, not a translation. And
Sure.
it's not, they are just the nature of television. They're going to have to cut some things and change some things. And I think people, they've loved these books for decades. They grew up with them. They read them as 10, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, and now they have families of their own, right? Or they came to it late, like some of us did. And I think that there's a bit of they don't really necessarily understand how it goes when they're adapting a beloved work like this. You know what I mean?
I do. I mean, I think we can keep talking about Wheel of Time for a long time, but I think we should probably move on because it's been 20 minutes and we're still on it. I could keep talking about it pretty easily, but
it's okay. Yeah.
Let's move on to our next topic because it's not the only TV thing. Right now, there's quite a bit of TV on. December hit like a Mack truck. They just did not stop with the TV. And another show that has come on and is entertaining people is the Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus. The show about what happened to the iconic kind of tea-wearing visor bounty hunter Boba Fett after he fell into that horrible sand monsters pit in Return of the Jedi. I watched the first episode. I think you watched both. And I'll say the first episode, I enjoyed it. I like, I'll drop another name. Very Sergio Leone-esque. Yes. I enjoyed like the long wordless section where it kind of just told his story through like just visuals and music.
Right. Yeah. There was no dialogue there for a while.
Yeah, it was great. Just like kind of the music and the atmosphere and just how he kind of got out of the situation and kind of wandered the desert and got captured. I thought it was pretty effective. I was compelled. Are you enjoying the Book of Boba Fett, Corey?
Yeah, and I watched the second episode actually dropped this morning, so I watched that this morning. It's actually fairly long.
Yeah, I heard that.
It's 47 minutes, so a little bit longer than that first episode. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the Star Wars. I mean, obviously the 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. Boba Fett was in both of those very briefly in season 1. We got to see his foot, and then obviously a pretty big part of season 2. Mm-hmm. But I'm enjoying these Star Wars shows on Disney Plus. I don't understand why they hadn't done this a long time ago, Lucasfilm. I mean, you create a whole
couple of times.
Yeah, I mean, and it just never got off the ground. And I mean, I'm sure there's various reasons, but it's, you create this vast galaxy and all these characters, and we only focused on the same, damn 5 characters for like 9 films. And it's, it's enjoyable to see sort of a lower stakes show that's set in the same universe and, has a different situation going on, and it's not Death Stars and Jedi and all this stuff. Yeah. Boba Fett kind of feels like a typical, almost like a mafia movie in a way, because he's setting up himself as this, this mob boss, this underworld boss, and he's got rivals that are trying to kill him and assassins, and he's taken over Jabba the Hutt's old territory. And so it's got a super compelling story that I really have no idea why they hadn't done this a long time ago.
I'm digging it. Yeah. I mean, he's a mob boss, but he's like the nice mob boss.
Right.
I do feel like there's a little bit of like Disney pixie dust on there where like, he's never going to get too down and dirty. Whenever there was a fight, it was kind of this thing where like they're trying to do like a Goodfellas Godfather thing, but they can't actually like show any blood or like, have anybody get whacked in the way we think of it. But it was still working for me. Like Robert Rodriguez, who directs it, I think had a really good way, just kind of the flow and the pacing of it that was entertaining me. And you're right. I mean, I do like the gritty feel. Do you think they're gonna bring in any of the Jedi stuff eventually? Because the Mandalorian, as Nicole says, the show has a Mandalorian feel. I like the Mandalorian so much because it was kind of divorced from
I hope
the
they don't.
Skywalker saga. And then Luke came in literally at the end of the last one.
Right.
It did kind of, I don't know.
I hope they don't. I don't think they will, because I feel like they're trying to, because this could easily just feel like a Mandalorian copy paste, right? I mean, the two main characters are both Mandalorians. So I feel like it could easily be that, but I think they're trying to do their own thing, and they're not going to have it, have Han Solo, show up at the end, or Leia show up at the end. I mean, maybe Han, but not. I just, there's no. I hope that it stays completely away from the Force and Jedi and the Empire, and they just keep it on Tatooine. I don't feel like you need to take it off Tatooine. I think you can tell compelling stories there just on Tatooine. When I was, we talk about books. There were Star Wars books for a long time before Disney took over. And when I was growing up, they had these anthology series that, when Luke and Obi-Wan walk into the cantina and Mos Eisley, there's all these characters sitting around the bar. And in the anthology series, they explored the story of basically every single person at the bar. and they weren't always these big, grand, fighting off Emperor Palpatine or, whatever stories. They were sometimes very, very small stories, and they were super entertaining. And why would, to me, like, make it your own thing, make it unconnected from the Skywalker saga, just make it take place on Tatooine and have it there. Like, why would you? I don't feel like you need to take it anywhere else to tell an interesting and compelling story.
I completely agree with you. I dread a little bit that Disney might think they need to in order to tie it into the next thing and sell a lunchbox. But I agree that the better choice is definitely to keep it grounded like it is. And I am liking it quite a bit. You can say no, and you probably should, but I could tell you a rumor that I heard about what's coming to the finale about a little appearance.
I think that's probably more up to the viewers, right? I mean, do they want to get spoiled as well? I'm fine with spoilers.
Okay, cool. All right, viewers, if you don't want to get spoiled for the Book of Boba Fett, comment no spoilers, something to that effect, in the next 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, get this. What I heard is that much in the way that Luke Skywalker made that little cameo at the end of Mandalorian with him like being aged down, Mark Hamill.
Right.
That they did, and just plug your ears. I just put your hands up when you're done. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, really, really fast. That Harrison Ford got in, they de-aged him, he's going to show up as Han Solo. That's what I heard.
I heard the same rumor, yeah.
Right. Maybe it'll be like a quick thing.
I think I'd be more okay with that just because it would make more sense within that universe, right? Because Han's a smuggler. He has that dirty background. So you could see him showing up for a minute and then, taking off. As opposed to like, if you bring in like a super heavyweight like Luke or Leia or, if Rey showed up for whatever reason, or Yoda or you know what I mean? So I'd be okay with that one. I don't know the other ones, I'd be okay with, but I think that one would be fine.
It depends how they do it. And okay, we are done. Spoiler talk over. Put my hands up. Spoiler talk is finished. That is it. Maybe not. Maybe it won't even happen. I bet it will though. But yeah, so far so good. And I'll keep watching that one too. Again, there's a lot to watch.
I hope that they expand it beyond the some of these side planets and give us a story, give us like what was the Shakespeare guys, Rosencrantz and
Guildenstern.
Yeah, give us something that, just shows what it's like working on a Star Destroyer as like a lieutenant or something. You know what I mean? Give us some of these other stories that we haven't seen, because we've seen the big, let's stop the Emperor from using the Death Star to blow up the galaxy stories. Like, show us the minutia, or show us the smaller stuff in this galaxy, because I think there's infinite room. I mean, literally, it's a completely different galaxy. You could tell any story you want, and you keep going back to the same story.
I mean, that's what they're going to try and do. I mean, they have all these shows coming up, and
you can sprinkle in
the
little.
First two have been quite strong.
Phrases. Yeah.
So I hope they keep diversifying, and I think they will. All right, and Christian, thanks for bearing with us there. I probably just shouldn't have done that, but I did, and I can't take it back. But he turned the sound off, and then he didn't hear it. So good thinking. And the hand thing was a signal. All right, we are talking up a storm, and we're burning time because there's so much to talk about, and the conversation is so diverting. By the way, I couldn't decide if I really liked that 4-armed Goro monster, or he looked kind of bad. I was a
little
back and forth.
Yeah, I'm saying I wasn't a mega fan of that thing. I think you could have gone a different direction with it, made it a little more exotic. I don't know. It looked kind of like Goro. I don't know, but it was fine. It was such a small part of the episode. Sure. It's there, it gets shot and dies, and we move on. So I was okay with it.
How did evolution make that thing? I don't know. I'm not gonna think about it. Anyway, moving on to Westerosi news. We had to talk about this briefly, at least, because, as we know, one of the many, many, many shows coming out this year is House of the Dragon, the Game of Thrones follow-up. And we don't have a new trailer, we don't have a new episode, but we do have, which is something fairly notable, George R. R. Martin has apparently, Fire and Blood of George R. R. Martin, has seen the first episode, a rough cut of it, and he was full of beans and praise, saying, it's dark, it's powerful, it's visceral, just the way I like my epic fantasy. The showrunner's done an amazing job, and the cast, just as with Game of Thrones, most viewers will have only heard of a few of the actors, but I think you're going to fall in love with a lot of them, only to have your hearts broken later when, but no, that would be telling. I think the Targaryens are in very good hands. Anticipate away. I do not think you'll be disappointed. That's cool, right? George R. R. Martin giving a little. I didn't go all the way with the impression, but I could have gone much higher. George R. R. Martin, seen episodes, so it means that they're getting closer. If they already have a rough cut to show somebody, and obviously this is a biased person we're talking about. He knows these folk, but I mean, if you saw it and then you hated it, I think you would just not say anything. That's the way I figure it. If you saw it and liked it, that's when you would go and actually just expound it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always tended to think that we're going to get, it's going to debut in Game of Thrones old April-ish time spot. And that would line up with, if he's seen the first episode, like Wheel of Time, I mean, we had early access to that. And I think I saw the first couple episodes, what was it, about 2 months before, and
you got really early in there.
So, and we were pressed. So like, I feel like George got even more advanced access.
Oh yeah.
So the 3 months from now in April sounds about right for when I think it'll debut, which means we should get some sort of announcement within the next month or so. But yeah, I mean, he was very specific with his praise, and we have to remember, I mean, Ryan Condal, the showrunner on this, with Miguel Sapochnik, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ryan was George's, sort of handpicked choice for this show, and obviously Miguel Sapochnik, his track record with Game of Thrones
speaks for itself. Yeah,
right, speaks for itself. So I don't think it's not very surprising to me that he would enjoy the show. But yeah, I mean, I do think that his praise was a little specific. He's much more. I mean, we've debated this ad nauseum, during GOT's run, but you can kind of read between the lines when he's not happy with something.
Yes.
Maybe you don't know the extent of his unhappiness, but you can kind of tell he's when he's unhappy with something, or even if he just doesn't think it's the best. So I tend to think that this was some genuine praise and that he really enjoyed, Ryan and Miguel's take on the material. So, I mean, I'm excited for the show either way. I thought the first teaser looked really good, and
Yeah, totally.
I mean, my expectations are pretty high. So,
yeah, mine are too, and I agree with you. Like, if he didn't like it, he would have not said anything or been more muted. Like, certainly a show is coming. That's certainly a series on the way. I think it'll probably be a little
very specific.
Yeah, it was. Which specificity is the sign that you're willing to get into the details, so you must not mind doing it. I think specificity is always a good sign in anything. I tend to think it might be a little later. It's interesting because this year it has to contend with like other giant fantasy series. Like, they're going to have the Lord of the Rings this year, and they're going to have probably the Wheel of Time season 2 this year. The Witcher season 3 might come out this year. Like, House of the Dragon is now one of several rather than like the big dog on the block.
Yeah, but that's what I think. I mean, Lord of the Rings is late September or November.
September 2nd. They announced that like 2 years ahead of time. It was weird.
Right. So I tend to think April, sometime in there, maybe a little bit later. But if he's seen the first episode, then that means they're within a couple months of having everything ready to go, right? Because I would
think so.
I mean, again, you circle back to Wheel of Time. When we saw the episodes that I saw, they were complete. They had credits, they had special effects, they had previously on. I mean, they had everything. So to me, if he's seen an episode and then based on the fact we saw the teaser that was fairly, it was a minute long, right? It wasn't just
like no dragons or anything, but yeah, it was all
correct. Right. Special effects obviously might still be worked on, but I tend to think April, at most May, before we're seeing the episodes. So again, I think we're going to get some sort of announcement here within the next
February.
month. Yeah,
Game of Thrones convention, I think, because they're having this convention thing in Las Vegas. Which, if HBO, I emailed you, invite us, have us out there.
Yeah.
That's when I think it'll happen.
If you're watching HBO. I think April, and they like that spot. It's a good spot for them. They would have like you were saying, they'd have the microphone to themselves because all those other shows debut later in the year. And I, quite frankly, if they debut ahead of time, I feel like that puts more pressure on the shows afterwards. So
it would be the smart move, definitely, if they can swing it. But I also want it to be good. So there's a calculation I'm sure we'll be making. Remember when you got the Wheel of Time things ahead of time and you showed a picture of Loyal, and I didn't believe
never
you.
Did that. Never did that.
Was, that's true. Well, okay. Remember when we saw a picture of Loyal from the advanced episode?
I saw it on Reddit.
Right. Yeah, Reddit. Rose asshole Reddit. And I didn't believe you that he would look like that in the finished product, and then he did.
Right. And then he did. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, that was 2 months before it debuted on Amazon Prime. So I think that tends to be the window. I mean, between 2 and 6 weeks before the show debuts, they've got final products because they're already behind the scenes trying to hype the show to the media. So, and to people like George, I mean, obviously he's different. He gets even more earlier access than anybody else. But I feel like if he's seen an episode and he did not go out of his way to say it was still pending special effects, so TBD on that. He said he saw an episode, right? So to me, he saw a completed episode, 95% complete. Maybe he didn't have the credits or whatever, but to me, he saw an episode. He saw a completed episode. So I think we're getting very close to it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I will go with you because that means I get to see it sooner. I'm all for that. 2022 going to be a big ass year. All right, and finally, thank you, Corey, because we're going pretty deep and having a good meaty discussion that's taking up a lot of good time. We're having to fill time in this one. But you want to talk about Cobra Kai for a second? How you enjoying?
Yeah, Cobra Kai just December 29th or 30th, I forget. Cobra Kai, it's if you don't, I mean, it's basically a continuation of the Karate Kid story from, you know, the first 3 Karate Kid movies we saw in the 80s. And it's been running for it had 2 seasons on YouTube, and now it has 2 more seasons that have after Netflix took over. And it is just the definition of a guilty pleasure, right? It's cheesy, it's over the top, but it's so much fun. It's so, you got the 80s, you know, soundtrack that they still bring in. You've got the teenage drama, you know, except for they all know karate and they, you know, fight inside their high school and they fight inside their parents' house and they have a throwdown at prom. And it's just, it's sort of, you know, it's very soap opera-ish, but it's very good. It's a lot of fun. If you're a fan of the original movies, there's all kinds of original characters and all kinds of cameos that you'll love. And I binged the first, it was my first true binge, you know, where I just watched episode, because they're only 30-35 minutes long.
Oh, really? Oh, that does help.
They're very, there's, you know, they're very quick. You know, like I still haven't finished the 2nd season of The Witcher, and I still haven't finished a lot of other things that are out there. But when Cobra Kai came out, I watched that really, really quick. And it's a lot of cheesy, good fun that's just really enjoyable and really easy to take in. So,
no, I haven't watched it in part because I thought it was an hour series. It's a half hour. That actually does make things a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they have it's like any other show. There's every once in a while they'll throw in a extended episode or whatever, but
when you need it.
Yeah, but for the most part, I mean, they're 35 minutes, real quick. It's good. You can watch 3-4 episodes in a night real easily. So
cool. I might try it out then if that's. I've been trying
Silicon
Valley lately. I never watched that one. Now I'm trying it.
It's fun to you can't always watch the Wheel of Times and the
Witcher,
the Witcher. You got to throw in some lighthearted fare every now and then, right? Some junk food, some, you know, stuff that you just enjoy, and it may not be the best, but it's just a lot lot So I
watch nothing but
highly
Shakespeare
recommend
adaptations.
Exactly.
Things. That's all I do. Okay. I'm watching Silicon Valley now, the HBO show that I never got into. I'm trying that out.
I need to watch that because I've heard very good things about that too.
It's not bad. It's pretty funny. But okay, we got to get to the WiC News Lightning Round because we are a burning time because our discussion is so full. Okay, as you know, Lightning Round is a thing where we go over quickly a bunch of things that we just didn't have time to cover in the main show and give our 20-second reactions to all of them. I didn't know who was going to go first or second. So what if I just ask you the first question?
Go for it.
All right, Corey Smith. Sony has delayed the Spider-Man adjacent anti-hero film Morbius again to April 1st. Reactions? Are you so sad?
I didn't know when it was originally coming out. I feel like I've seen trailers for that for like 3 years now. So, I mean, that's something I hope is on one of my streaming, 19 streaming platforms.
I don't think it is. I think it's just going to be because they don't have one. Sony just has
somebody
they have.
I don't know.
All right.
So speaking of streaming, something that's on HBO Max, the Harry Potter reunion. The special used a picture of a young Emma Roberts who was not in Harry Potter instead of Emma Watson, who was.
It's pretty funny, right? You go through all this trouble of making this really elaborate reunion, getting like all these stars to come back together, and people want to see it really bad, and you can't even get the right childhood picture. You don't run by anybody. There was another mistake too, where like they messed up the Phelps twins, like those two redheaded twin people. They got that wrong too. People seem to like it a lot. I haven't watched it. Stupid Harry Potter thing. Okay. All right, Corey. This one. Everybody out there, I want to know how you feel about this too. Somebody bought this Game of Thrones Fabergé egg for $2.2 million. A good purchase, Corey?
Somebody needs to be knocked upside the head with this egg. I mean, I understand you love Game of Thrones. I own all kinds of Game of Thrones memorabilia, but are you out of your mind? $2 million for a Fabergé egg? I mean, seriously, that's just. Speaking of throwbacks, this feels like a throwback. Jake and Natiri have a human son in Avatar 2, parts of which will take place on Earth, according to,
So they're trying to hype up the Avatar 2, the sequel to the Blue Alien Dances with Wolves movie from 2008, 9, whatever, a while ago. I'm not really feeling it. Like, I barely remember who Jake and Neytiri are, although they're the two main blue ones.
Right.
Are you interested in this movie, Corey? Like, do you want to go see it? Okay.
Yeah, I want to go see it. I mean, I'm not dying to see it, but I want to go see it. Well, your turn.
Okay. And we'll get to some of the comments briefly after this. Don't worry. The Walking Dead star Norman Reedus, aka Daryl, wants to play the motorcycle riding Flaming Skull Marvel hero Ghost Rider in the MCU. Yeah.
I'd say yes. I'd say this is.
I could see it. Yeah.
This is Hugh Jackman playing Wolverine. This is perfect casting. I think he's great for the role. He obviously knows how to ride a motorcycle, and he's got that kind of dark vulnerability to him. I think that is A+ casting. I would love to see that.
I agree. That's a good one. All right. Go ahead.
I'm glad this is your question. Doctor Who's current companions are leaving alongside current Dr. Jodie Whittaker.
I arranged them so you wouldn't get one you had no chance of knowing.
No idea what any of that just means.
This is on purpose. Okay, well, Doctor Who, every couple of years, they recast the main role because the doctor can, like, I don't know, turn to something new. And they're doing a clean sweep. The entire cast is gone. Like, the other supporting characters are gone. They're going to have a new cast come in. And that's what it means. And that's it's over. We don't talk about it anymore. All right. Home stretch here. Corey, WandaVision was the most pirated show of 2021.
Not surprising. I mean, I think that one debuted with the most hype, right? It was the first Marvel show out of the gate.
And the best one still.
What's that?
And the best one still, if you ask me.
I like the Loki smidge more, but yeah, I mean, I think it had the most hype, so it's not surprising that it was the most pirated.
These seem pretty quick, but sometimes it does. Time expands and goes back.
Yeah, can we check the clock here? I'm feeling that it's a little off. Last question. There's a Game of Thrones cryptocurrency called Dracarys Dragon Token. How many do you own?
I don't own any. I don't own any of
those. Worth?
I don't own any of the Fabergé eggs either, but it sounds horrible and I want it to go away. And I'm sure that HBO will, like, if it gets big enough, HBO will shut it down. I don't really get crypto. I was contemplating when it was giant, like that giant spike doing it, but it didn't happen. Okay.
Most cryptocurrencies don't last, so I don't think it'll end up being something on HBO's radar. There was this
sad New York Times like podcast story about a guy who like made $1 million on Dogecoin back when it was like spiking. And at the end of the story, he was like, I'm not going to sell it all. I'm going to keep it and I'm going to ride this to the moon or whatever. And then they had like an end of the year catch up with him to like, how'd it go? And I'm like, oh no, what happened? It's like, yeah, I lost it. Everything went away. It's like, I know. Why didn't you just sell? But that was just me yelling at my phone on the subway. Really quick, some of the great comments we're getting. Discovery of Witches is coming out. That's true. Yeah, that's a really hype one. The Hawkeye finale. Did you watch the Hawkeye finale, Corey? I liked it.
Yeah, it was good. It wasn't, earth shattering, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was cute. Sorry, we're not more enthusiastic about a question. And finally, Matt Smith says, "Hi, Dan." And hi, Matt Smith. I loved you in The Crown. No, I'm kidding. I'm glad you're here, Matt Smith. Come on back because we broadcast. We stream every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the Winter is Coming Facebook page and the Winter is Coming YouTube page. All are welcome. All are invited. And we will see you next week. Corey, thanks for coming by.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right, everybody. Have a good night. Happy 2022. Bye-bye.